Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Missouri Small Flow Organization Basics of On-Site Wastewater Treatment for Homeowner Education. This is the first time we've been able to offer this webinar to the good people of the great state of Missouri. We're very glad to have you here with us. We're going to get started now, of course, at 6:30. So thank you for participating this evening. We'd also like to thank our many partners that helped provide the education material and help build this thing. Of course, the National On-Site Wastewater Recyclers Association for hosting this class this evening. Um, myself, my name is Nick Dykes. I'm the president of Missouri Small Flows Organization. I'm a third generation installer from the Kansas City Metro. Uh, love this industry and everything we do. We'd also like to thank Tammy Trantham this evening. She is the executive director of the Missouri Small Flow Organization and has put a lot of hard work into bringing this webinar to you guys this evening. So a little bit about Missouri Small Flows Organization. We are a statewide association that are comprised of professionals from the on-site wastewater industry, uh, septic inspectors, regulators, installers, pumpers, all those people that make the on-site industry tick in the state of Missouri. That's who we are. Our primary purpose is to provide continuing education to professionals, and we do our absolute best to help improve the on-site wastewater future for the state of Missouri. It's huge. It's a critical infrastructure, just like the electric company bringing electric to your house. That's what we try to do for wastewater. So to start this thing out, let's just do an overview of on-site wastewater treatment systems. I will do my absolute best to keep this nice and simple and easy. I'll be moving pretty fast, so follow along if you can. Throughout this presentation, guys, if you have any questions, I will not stop the presentation to answer them, but we have many good panelists on here tonight to answer them for you in the chat box. So go ahead and feel free to step over to the chat box, and they're ready and waiting on your questions now. So for our overview here, uh, all systems for on-site wastewater treatment systems, they have the same kind of purpose. We have to collect the wastewater. We have to allow for some kind of liquid and solid separation. And our goal is to remove most of the waste products from the water. We then have to return that water to our water cycle. We're all part of a watershed, um, and our water is continuously recycled. A lot of people don't realize that, but we depend on our septic systems to take all the pathogens, bacteria, and viruses out and return good, safe water uh, back into our watershed and our water cycle. Uh, we each are part of a watershed across this state, and we need to do our best to protect that. So just think about that. You're drinking water in your aquifers. Uh, what comes out of your home, we need to take care of that. So when we look at wastewater treatment overview, we can take this and split it into about two things, pre-treatment and then advanced pre-treatment. With pre-treatment, we're removing most of the solids from the wastewater. During pre-treatment, it removes about 1/2 of the organic strength, and it prepares the wastewater for soil-based final treatment, which we'll get into a little bit later. We also have advanced treatment systems in the state of Missouri that they provide additional treatment. And these are most commonly seen in sites that have limiting conditions such as, uh, you know, high water tables, rock areas, and just really poor clay soils. But with advanced pretreatment, we get additional organic strength reduction, disinfection, and considerably more nutrient reduction. So our final treatment, that has to happen in the soil. And the primary purpose of pretreatment is to protect the soil system. If we think over the life of a home, you guys may only use 200, 250 gallons a day. But when we take that over a 10-day period, becomes 2,500 gallons. And then we take it over a month period and years. The soil has to work really hard to accept all that water for long periods of time. And the primary purpose of pretreatment is to just protect that soil. The soil system removes many of the waste products as well, and then it actually returns the water back to the water cycle. In this image here and on this slide, you can see to your right a nice image of what we would call a conventional treatment train. Um, the majority of on-site wastewater treatment systems have a layout similar to this. We have our collection. Uh, there's a nice picture of a septic tank. They don't all have nice big risers on like that one does, but we wish they did. But you can see it leaves the home there, travels through the pipe, down to that tank, and then out to the soil treatment area where it's returning. So when we talk about wastewater treatment, 100% begins in the house at collection. We have black water from our toilets and our kitchen sink and our dishwasher. We also have gray water, which comes from our laundry and our showers. Uh, Showers make up about 20% of that, toilets 24, clothes washers 16, faucets 20, some water leaks. They've got that accounting for 13% of our collection, and then other is 5.3. So with black water and gray water, there's just lots of things that come out, contaminants, and that's the makeup of those though. So in our septic tanks, we separate the solids from the water. Uh, the separation is based on density relative to water. So anything that its density is less than water, it floats to the very top and becomes scum. This is generally comprised of fats and oils and greases. And then anything that its density is greater than water, it sinks to the bottom during the separation period and becomes sludge. If you look at this image to your right, uh, there's a nice clear layer between that scum layer and the sludge layer. And it's going out the tank to the treatment or dispersal system. And this is how we help protect our soil treatment area. So inlet and outlet baffles are a critical portion of every septic tank. Um, Baffles are really doing the hard work to help keep the layers separated. And those are the T-looking things in yellow on the diagram. That allows the inlet flow from the collection at the house to enter the tank and separate by pushing it down. And it also allows the clarified wastewater to move to the soil treatment area. So the wastewater entering the tank, and this is a really good thing to know because uh, a lot of pumpers get this question all the time. People call and they say, "My tank is full," and they don't realize that the tank is designed to operate full all the time. So every time that anything is collected from the house and comes to the tank, whether it's a toilet flush or a shower or a load of laundry, it displaces an equal volume of water out the tank. So that's something to know. So the solids are retained in the septic tank and kept there. The sludge layer at the bottom, we see some degradation of organic solids. It's important to also remember that not all solids are biodegradable. In this sludge layer, we have anaerobic conditions, so there's no dissolved oxygen in that at all. In our scum layer on top, it's comprised of those fats, oils, and greases I talked about. Lots of soaps. Most of the fats come from animal sources, the oils from plant sources, and then greases are petroleum based and come from skincare products. Makeup, a lot of the lotions we have, those things. So our clarified layer, uh, which is that clear layer again in between the scum and the sludge. That's what we want leaving the tank. Um, and we call that septic tank effluent. So over the course of time, your scum layer will build up and your sludge layer will build up. Uh, and eventually they'll become so thick that that nice clarified layer is no longer there. And that's why we recommend pumping your septic tank according to a good schedule. So often we get into those bad sites we were talking about, challenging, hard, tough sites, bad soils, lots of rock, and we get to where we need to use and require advanced pretreatment. So advanced pretreatment is really a blessing. Uh, there's a lot of places in the state of Missouri that were no longer buildable. Just all the good lots were gone and the good soil, and you could not build a home. And when we add advanced pretreatment to that, those lots are now buildable. But with advanced pretreatment, it creates a much cleaner effluent, which is what's leaving the tank prior to the final treatment and dispersal. So we see a lot better degradation of organic compounds, disinfection, and nutrient removal. So while we are moving between our treatment components, if it is at all possible, a good installer and a good engineer uh, will generally choose gravity. Um, and each component in that system will be at a slightly lower elevation than the previous one. Sometimes, whether it's site dependent or because of the type of system that the soil and site is requiring, we have to add a pump in there to lift the wastewater to the next component. Um, for some of the advanced systems, we're also adding pumps to assist with nice, even, uniform distribution across the soil area. So let's talk a little bit about pumps and pump tanks and controls. So a pump system generally consists of a pump tank, which is the second wastewater tank in the series. Um, it's usually sized to hold the 2-day wastewater volume, and it's sized as such so that if there is an issue with the pump or one of the controls, uh, you have some storage capacity while you wait on a technician or someone to get out there to get it fixed for you. Uh, we have a dose pump inside of our pump tanks, which is the actual pump that moves and transfers the effluent to the next component. And we have a lot of controls with these as well. And they're specifically there to turn the pump on when needed and shut the pump off. They're also integrated with an alarm to let you know that there is a problem before it becomes a bigger problem and is backed up into your home. This diagram here is a really good example of a pump tank, but the primary pump tank purpose is to just collect the water and wait to send it out as needed at the next pump cycle. So the pumps will either turn on at a preset time or a preset fluid level, and it's really pinnacle that you have access to these from the surface. So many of you guys may have two septic tanks and never known what was in there, and this is what it is. It's a pump tank to move the effluent to the next component. So there's a lot of different kinds of pumps. They're all submersible. They're fractional horsepower sizing. We do this to keep the power consumption minimum. Um, Average lifespan of a pump in this day and age is about 7 to 10 years. Uh, I've seen pumps that were put in the late 90s that are still kicking today. But we like to say the average pump lasts about 7 to 10 years. So this is a really good image, and let's talk control panels. A lot of you guys may have this on the side of your home or out in your yard. And in this control panel, it holds all of the things that make your septic system tick. This is kind of like the brain of your septic system. Um, it controls the floats that turn the pump on and off. It has cycle counters and timers and There's lots of good stuff in there, and it's all critical to your septic system operating correctly. The floats in the tank indicate the fluid level, uh, turns it on and off. And there's also usually a lot of information in there about what system you have and how it's operating. So after our pretreatment, whether that be advanced or not, the effluent moves to the soil-based final treatment. So soil is just immensely powerful. Uh, there's a lot happening out there. There's biological, chemical, and physical treatment happening out there. And the soil that your septic system is in, it must allow for water to move through it. So when we talk about applying our effluent to the soil, uh, with trench-based dispersal, we sometimes have gravel or other media that provides storage when the effluent's coming into it. And then we have an infiltration happening into the soil from there. So with our infiltrative surface, it's mostly on the bottom, but we do get a little bit out of the sidewall in our trench. So in a good conventional system, it may be, a gravel, or it could be another media. There's lots of different types of trench-based dispersal out there, and installers have a lot of options. So it's usually whatever is best for the soil that it's being installed in. So when we disperse this wastewater effluent into the soil, uh, what's happening is because of all of the treatment happening in the soil, it's providing a really good separation between humans and our personal waste. Uh, it's huge, guys. It helps protect public health. Um, and really anyone in this industry is doing a just a great service to our public health. We could be living back in the dark ages right now. So by dispersing the soil or the effluent into the soil, we're providing a means of preventing our waste from becoming an environmental contaminant. So it's just a good natural means of renovating the clean water that we have turned to wastewater. So let's look at some common types of systems. I'm going to go through quite a few of these right now, and you may recognize as at least one of these as having it in your backyard. Um, we got many common dispersal methods. A lot of them are gravity, pressurized. We talked about that earlier. We can have either or. And we also have some combined treatment and dispersal methods out there. In this image over here, there's a really good diagram showing the actual trench full of gravel and our sledded pipe in there, distributing it across that. Uh, the thing to the left is a distribution box, which helps spread the water out to each dispersal trench evenly and good. So that comes from our septic tank down there. Back to our conventional septic systems, uh, almost always gravity distribution. The effluent comes out through the pipe from the tank down to the distribution box, and it moves by gravity slowly down the trench to the distal end. Uh, it's pretty poor distribution across those lines because it has to literally push itself down. But this system also offers the least amount of maintenance. So in my area, uh, up in the northwestern portion of the state, it may be like 1 in 100 systems we install our conventional septic system. But other areas of our state, this is all you will see go in because they have better soil down there. So I'm a little jealous, but it is what it is. Uh, the next example, let's look at a low pressure pipe system. With low pressure pipe systems, we're using a secondary tank, that pump tank, to provide a nice, good, uniform application of the effluent across a nice wide area. These operate at approximately 7 psi. With these, you do have a pump tank, pump, and controls. And with that pump tank, pump, and controls, anything with electricity and moving parts is going to break eventually. It's just a matter of when. So there is some more maintenance to these. These also need to be flushed um, and pressure set on them as well. We have distribution systems. It's kind of like a drip system with clean water in your front yard. Just using wastewater instead, we get a nice, slow, precise application. These are really used in just areas with terrible soils. Would just won't accept much water. This is a pressurized system as well. Uh, they got filters and pumps and controls. Very good systems, but there is maintenance involved in these as well. It's always important to know these systems are usually installed between 6 and 12 inches deep over a very wide area, and it's really important to stay off of them because you can damage your field just like any of these fields, but this is the most easily damaged field that there is. So we also have combined treatment and dispersal. This is another system that's used in low permeability soils. Uh, there's some risk that organic compounds and biosolids will clog the infiltrative surface at the bottom of the trench. These dispersal system modifications can provide that extra treatment in the trenches uh, by combining treatment inside of our trench and also dispersing the effluent. We have sand-lined trenches. Um, this provides additional treatment in the trench as well. The sand gives microbes a nice place to attach. The air moves through the sand and it's really aerobic. It's full of oxygen. Um, we also have a lot of mound systems in the state of Missouri. It provides treatment by trickling effluent through the media that often is sand. We get water clarification, organic removal, really limits the potential for soil clogging, and it's used at sites with shallow soils. That's why they're above ground as a mound. It's because we're trying to get away from all the bad stuff in our water table. So we raise them up. And we also have some lagoon systems in the state of Missouri. Provides treatment as well. It's aerobic near the water surface and it lacks oxygen in the deeper portions. It holds effluent during the dry season. Um, and water level will fluctuate with seasons. So during periods of heavy rains in the springs and things, it may be a little higher than it is in a long stretch of dry, arid weather like we've been having recently. So for a nice little wrap up, that was a quick review on how on-site wastewater treatment systems operate, their collection, pre-treatment, and final treatment. We also looked at and evaluated a lot of different kinds of systems. I hope that familiarized you guys a little bit with them. We also looked at, just how these methods allow for different climates and soil conditions. So it's always important to put the system to the site. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Missouri Small Flow Organization's Executive Director, Tammy Trantham. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Nick. Give me a chance here to get my screen shared. We'll get you guys going here. As soon as my computer catches up with me. There we go. Okay, thank you guys for being on here tonight, and thanks, Nick, for your first introduction. It was really nice to have that information, know about the different types of systems that are out there. I get the pleasure of showing you guys all of the information about homeowner tips. So here we go. It'll be a lot of fun. So a few things. One of the number one questions I get from homeowners is how often should I pump my tank? So this is a chart that kind of helps you figure that out if you know the size of your tank. If you don't know the size of your tank or you don't know where it is, I highly recommend you call a pumper and get it pumped. So they can tell you kind of how big it is the first time they pump it. because otherwise you have to basically measure the tank to figure out the gallons of that it holds. So, but it's pretty easy for a pumper to figure it out too. So then this graphic here is actually on our Facebook page as well, so you guys can find it there. I'm always happy to supply it, but it does your size of your tank and how many people are in the house, that dictates how often you should pump your tank. And sometimes how often you use it, like what you're using in the house, which is what we're going to get into here shortly. All right, so what is in wastewater? A lot of stuff. You have pathogens in there, viruses, bacteria, that all comes from our gut bacteria, okay, from our waste from the human body. A lot of organic and inorganic material can be as well. A lot of nutrients, phosphorus and nitrogen is very high in wastewater as well. And cleaning products, chemicals, water, water treatment, medications. If you take a medication, your body doesn't normally absorb all of it. So we do pass some of it through and it goes into our wastewater as well. So everything goes into our wastewater. It used to be in the olden days, people would divert gray water away from black water, as we call that, so the toilet in the kitchen. But we've done a lot of research over the last several decades, and gray water does have a lot of pathogens in it too. So general rule of thumb anymore is that all of your wastewater should go into your septic system to be treated. That way you're not introducing any type of pathogens out into the environment. And it's all getting the same amount of treatment that you're aiming for in your septic system. So I do have a few tips on how to lessen the load on your septic system. If you can lessen the load on it, you're going to increase the longevity of it. And if you haven't replaced a septic system before, it is a pricey endeavor to do. So hopefully some of these tips will help you get through using your system lightly. Occasionally we have parties like Super Bowl parties where you're going to amp up the usage, but if you can spread out your water usage, it'll make a difference. So here's a couple of videos that talk about some tips to make your septic system last longer.
Be aware of your household's water use. Efficient water use improves the operation of the septic system and reduces the risk of failure. Septic systems can only handle a set amount of water. Avoid overburdening your system by staggering your water use. If your household is running a shower, the washing machine, and dishwasher at the same time, you increase the risk of a sewage backup in your home or a flooded septic drain field in your yard. So do your part to be septic smart. Spread out your water use throughout the day, conserve water, and look for the Energy Star and WaterSense labels when purchasing water-based appliances. Not straining your drain can save you money and protect you and your family's health.
All right, so some good recommendations, general recommendations from that. If you have any drips or leaks in your house, try to fix those as soon as possible. A leaky toilet actually generates quite a bit of water that keeps going down your drain and can actually cause your hydraulically overload your system. So that's an easy fix, and that's actually one of the things we'll troubleshoot if you have a professional come out, because you do have a high water alarm, for instance, and we can't figure out where the extra water is coming from. So leaks, those kind of things, get those fixed right away. Try to find appliances that have water and energy efficient cycles. We'll go through a couple of them here in my presentation here tonight. One of the key ones I always tell people is don't use your toilet as a garbage can. You should not place anything in your septic system that doesn't go through your body or from the kitchen or that kind of thing. So you got to also be careful if you have a garbage disposal. That introduces a lot more solids into your septic tank that can increase the sludge level faster. And so you may have to pump your tank more often if you have a garbage disposal in your house. Limit the use of harsh cleaners and sanitizers. The idea behind your septic tank is to have a very healthy bacterial environment. And if you kill that bacterial environment, you're going to decrease the ability for it to treat those pathogens. And so using a lot of harsh cleaners like bleach, using those sanitizers you stick to the side of the toilet that distribute sanitizing every time you flush, those kind of things add up in a septic tank pretty quickly if you use a lot of them. So be cognizant of how many of those things you're using. And you can use products that are natural and biodegradable. That always helps. That reduces the amount of sludge you get in your tank, and also just it's more environmentally friendly as well. So here's another fun video about what you should and shouldn't put down your toilet.
Load the commode. Remember, your toilet is not a trash can. Here's some easy advice. Do not flush anything besides human waste and toilet paper. Everything that goes down your toilet ends up in your septic system. Items such as diapers and baby wipes, hygiene products, cigarette butts, and cat litter belong in the trash, not your toilet. They do not decompose in your septic tank and can shorten the life of your system. Harsh chemicals from drain cleaners and some cleaning products can also harm your septic system and should be used sparingly. Flushing such items down the toilet can clog your pipes and damage your septic system, which can result in costly repairs. So do your part to be septic smart. Always dispose of these non-flushable items in the trash.
Apologize for the technical glitch there. So the toilet is the #1 user in the home. And if you have one of these glorious pink toilets in your house, it's time to upgrade. Okay. These toilets use a lot of water, usually about 5 gallons or more. So you should replace them. You don't need that much water to flush waste anymore. They make very efficient toilets that use about 1.6 gallons per flush. And it's just time you get an upgrade. Nobody needs a pink toilet anymore. Fixing leaky problems is also important. Having a good gasket, so you don't have the leaky gasket in your toilet, because again, those can leak a lot of water down into the drain very quickly. Leaky toilets can. Some other recommendations in the bathroom. Some toilet cleaners are very hard on on-site wastewater treatment systems, on your septic system, so use those sparingly. Don't use those automatic sanitizers. Those are the ones you stick on the side of the toilet. A small amount of elbow grease goes a long ways. So just cleaning the toilet with a little bit of arm power works really well. And also don't put extra things down your toilet. So no Kleenex, no Q-tips, and flushable wipes, feminine products, anything. That is a big discussion I get into with a lot of homeowners when they ask, they say, well, it says they're flushable on the wipes. And I said, yeah, they might go down the drain, depending on how old the pipes are in your house too. But they will not biodegrade. They will just stay in the bottom of your septic tank until you need to pump it. And they're going to cause you to have to pump it more quickly because they just pile up. They can also cause problems if they get into the pump chamber. If you have a pump in your tank and your effluent's getting pumped to the next stage of the treatment process, so that can cause problems too. If you're going to use those flushable wipes, as they call them, or those wipes, just make sure you put them in the garbage. Don't put them down your septic tank. You can also take shorter showers. Conserving water is actually good for a septic system, so you're not hydraulically overloading it. You can put in some low flow fixtures in your house, and then avoid those daily cleaners. And then just clean less often, not every day. One of the questions I also get is antibacterial soaps. So again, you're trying to keep a good bacterial environment in your septic system so that it breaks down the pathogens. When we use a lot of antibacterial soaps, it actually reduces the amount of bacteria that are growing down there. And so use those sparingly if you use them. But honestly, just regular soap and water does the job that it needs to do to clean up your hands and that sort of thing. So if you can avoid antibacterial soaps, that's actually helpful when you're on a septic system. Clearing clogged drains. This is something that's also very important as well, because you want to make sure the plumbing's working in your house. You can put strainers on the drains that helps you catch any foreign material, hair, chunks of food, that kind of stuff from the kitchen sink, for example. That way you can throw that stuff in the garbage instead of it going down the drain. Occasionally you will have a drain plug. That's just the nature of the way things work in your house. If you can take it apart and clean it down in the trap, that's the best way to get rid of it, or using a snake to clean it out. If you do have to use a drain cleaner, just remember that those are extremely caustic and strong chemicals. So they will kill microbes down in the septic tank. You don't want to use those very often. But they have to be used sometimes, I realize. Some laundry recommendations. High efficiency loading machines are really good too. If you have a really old washing machine, I always picture the one that my grandmother had with the wringer on it. Those things had like 20, they hold like 20 gallons, 15, 20 gallons of water. So you can imagine that when you do a load of laundry that has 15 gallons of water and you dump all that water into your septic tank, it has to also send 15 gallons out of the tank as well. So it's a lot of water going out to your field all at once. So the high efficiency machines, use a lot less water, 12 to 20 gallons, and they are actually very efficient electricity as well. Now there's a picture of the front loading machines here, but I know they make high efficiency top loaders now too. It's just kind of your preference. But that is a good way to be very efficient on your water usage as well. The other key thing is on laundry, spread out your loads throughout the week. Don't do all your laundry on Sunday while you're watching football all day. Spread it out during the week so that your soil dispersal system's not getting flooded with a lot of water. So if you can spread it out, it rests the soil in between it getting wet and allows it to dry out. And that's a good way to do that. So spread out your laundry throughout the week. Also on the laundry, you want to also limit the amount of sanitizing products you use in that too. So like bleach, if you do a specific job where you need to use bleach and sanitize things that you work in, just do it like once a week to keep it very minimal that you're sending down the drain. Limiting detergent, just use as much as you need to clean your clothes. Don't use more than you need. There is one thing, if you still have a washing machine that you use the inexpensive, the powders, the powder detergent, that can actually have clay as a filler in it so that it doesn't cake together. That's the way that works. But that will actually set in the bottom of your septic tank because clay is a particle of soil. It doesn't biodegrade. And so if you can avoid using the powders, that's really helpful. Liquid fabric softeners are usually a no-go when you're on a septic system too. If you remember when Nick was talking about the stratification or the layers of the water in the septic tank, you have the sludge layer, the clear water layer, and then you have the scum layer on top. If you use a lot of liquid fabric softener, it actually causes those to mix, and then you'll get solids or particulate matter going out into your field instead of having that separation that you're looking for. So we kind of don't recommend using fabric softeners if you're on a septic system. You can use dryer balls instead, to try to keep your clothes nice and soft. So some kitchen recommendations, run the dishwasher only when it's full. If you hand wash your dishes, make sure you fill up a tub or the sink. Don't let the water just run because it's amazing how much water your faucet puts out per minute. And when you use your dish detergent, try to find phosphate-free ones. So we're already putting a lot of phosphorus out into the environment. If we can reduce the amount of phosphorus that we're putting out from our detergents, that helps things as well. So, and the detergents will state on their packaging that they're phosphate-free. It's pretty easy to find. They do mark that pretty well now. Obviously, if you have a sink, scrape your plates into a compost or the garbage. And then you can also, not use a garbage disposal. Then if you thaw food in the refrigerator instead of underwater, obviously running water. And I just say that if you have a garbage disposal, because a lot of homes do, just be aware that you may have to pump your tank more often. So that way you understand that you're going to have more solids in your system. All right, here's another fun video about what you can do in your kitchen.
Pouring fat, grease, and solids down your sink can clog your pipes or damage your septic system over time, requiring additional maintenance and pumping. In some cases, it can even lead to system failure. So do your part to be septic smart. Keep those harmful materials from going down your drain. Instead, collect that waste in an airtight container and then discard the food waste into a compost bin or trash can. Use cleaning supplies such as soaps, surface cleaners, bleach, etc. in moderation, as excessive use of antibacterial products and harsh chemicals can harm your septic system. Thinking at the sink can protect your septic system and prevent plumbing problems, which can save you the hassle and expense of costly repairs.
All right, and again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to type them into the Q&A as I'm going along here. You also have the utility room. Almost everybody has a utility room in their house. Some recommendations on this. Probably the number one question I get about actually utility rooms is a water softener, because a lot of people in different parts of Missouri have a water softener because we have hard water around here. And so the idea behind a water softener is to soften the water. It runs it through some brine. It's a salty solution that it runs through. But when a water softener recirculates, it recirculates that salty water and disposes of a lot of it. If that salty water is being disposed of into your septic system, you can imagine the amount of salty water that you're putting into your septic tank. And that will actually change the chemistry in your septic tank and kill a lot of the bacteria. So we do encourage homeowners to make sure their water softener, for instance, is not going into your septic system. One, it keeps that amount of water going in there because they usually put out a lot of water when they recirculate. And two, it keeps that salty water out of there. So one thing to check on your house if you have a water softener in a septic system. Also, an easy one is to make sure that your sump pumps don't go into your septic system. Make sure there's no tile lines that go into there as well. In older style houses, sometimes you'll find that. And so lots of good tips on keeping utility room stuff away from your septic system. Hazardous waste is also important. So if you have unused medications, for example, a septic system is not designed to break down medicines. There is a lot of research going into this on trying to figure out what we can do. But it's a huge task. And honestly, the municipal wastewater treatment plants can't even treat medicine waste right now either. So it's a huge picture that we're looking at. But if you have any unused medications, don't flush them down the toilet. Take them to a drug take back program if you can, so that they're not being added into the environment. A few outside the home recommendations too. Do make sure that when you don't dispose of the water from hot tubs or pools into your septic system, you can just imagine the amount of water that goes into a septic tank if you try to dump one of those in there because you think it's a good treatment option. It really isn't, because it will overflow your system. One of the biggest ones we see a lot of is the roof drains. So the idea behind the roof drains is to get them away from your field. You don't want them dumping all that water from the roof when you get a lot of rain over top of the soil where your lateral lines are. You want those to go in a different direction so that it's not oversaturating the soil in your yard where the lateral lines are. So that is one thing you can do. You can reroute those roof drains. And also a big one is don't park vehicles over your lateral lines or your septic system. You think a concrete tank would be strong enough, but they are not rated for traffic. So you do not want to park any vehicles on top of your septic tank. And you definitely don't want to park any vehicles or drive any vehicles besides your mower to mow the grass over your lateral lines, because the more you drive over it, the more you'll compact the soil and reduce the amount of air that you get in there. And that's what the bacteria in the trenches out in the soil like. They got to have oxygen. And so you don't want to compact that soil out there. Here's another good tip on how to protect your lateral lines.
Avoid parking vehicles or planting trees or shrubs on your drain field.
Hi, I'm Mike, a licensed on-site sewage system operator in Virginia. Septic drain fields, sometimes called leach fields, are typically a set of plastic pipes and underground infiltration trenches. They accept partially treated wastewater from a septic tank and disperse it into the soil. Here, it is naturally treated by beneficial bacteria, biochemical interactions, and filtration. Drain fields are typically installed 6 to 12 inches below the ground surface. Therefore, the weight of a vehicle could damage the pipes or compact the soil, making it difficult for the wastewater to filter into the ground. Likewise, the roots from trees and woody shrubs could become entangled with the pipes, obstructing the drainage process.
Maintaining a grassy lawn over your drain field that's free of larger, deep-rooted vegetation provides the optimal conditions for your drain field and for your septic system as a whole. So do your part to be septic smart. Shielding your field can save you money and protect you and your family's health.
Okay, so a few more tips I'm going to give you guys as we kind of get close to wrapping up here. Landscaping considerations. You are already irrigating your lawn when your lateral lines are out there. You're putting plenty of water, so you do not need to add additional irrigation out there to have the beautiful green grass you're looking for. Your waste is going to provide that. You don't need to fertilize it either. Again, don't drive anything larger than your riding lawnmower out there to mow the grass. It is good to keep it nicely mowed because the more sunshine that can penetrate the soil a little bit, but also increase the plant growth, it uses more of the nutrients out there. And that's what we're going for, is that you have a healthy yard that will keep that grass growing and we're giving it plenty of nutrients. So that's an idea to keep in mind on that too. Also, do not grade or add soil over the system without consulting a professional. So if you see there's some bare spots or you think it's getting a little bit of divots in different area, you probably need to talk to the person who installed your system. If you bought the house and it's like that, we can help you find the right person to talk to. You need to talk to a professional installer because it is really important that you put the right type of soil out there. If you just go to the store and buy whatever soil you want, it could have too much clay in it, for instance, and it would actually seal up the soil and not provide it enough oxygen. So if you need soil, definitely contact a professional that knows what they're looking at if that's a need that you have. Some vegetation do's and don'ts. I do get asked this quite a bit. It is obviously good to have vegetation over your lateral lines because, again, we're looking for that evapotranspiration, helps prevent erosion, and also prevents freezing of the lines as well when we get those cold snaps around here. Try to use native drought-tolerant plants. If you've driven around the countryside over this past month, we've been so dry over the past month that you probably see some green strips in people's yards, and that's their septic lines. So those plants are doing well in those strips, and that's just the way the septic systems work. They provide that water and the nutrients during these dry times. You can frame the system with some dwarf trees and shrubs. So if you want to put some trees and shrubs around, the key there is just try not to put too many, don't put any, honestly, water loving plants. So like a willow tree, they love water and they will follow the path of least resistance to your lateral lines and clog up your pipes. And there's been a lot of problems with those types of trees, and it's really difficult to get them back out of there once they're established. So don't plant those types of trees when you're trying to build your system as well. It is also important that you have your system set back from different places. When you're building a house, you go through this whole process, through the permitting process. So we check and make sure that everything is built within the set setbacks written into our state building code that we follow under the on-site program. But if you already have a house established and you have to put things in, then that's when we start looking at these things. But it is good to have your septic system set back from building, structure, anything that could cause problems with it. We are required to have it set back from wells, lakes, rivers, ponds, and streams. And property features, we try to keep it away from different things, especially decks and patios as much as we can, and swimming pools as well. So there are different setbacks we have to follow when we put these in. One of the things that people ask me is, it's a nice green area, can I put a shed over top of it? So one of those portable sheds. And if you put a portable shed over your lateral lines, then that's an area that's not getting sunshine, it's not getting good drainage. So it will cause most likely a wet spot in your system, and it could fail in that part. So always keep it open, keep it mowed nice, that sort of thing. Also be cognizant of fencing or gate placement, and because Nick was talking, we have to pump these tanks. It's a regular maintenance thing to pump these tanks. If you make it difficult for a pumper to get in there, with fences or gates, it's going to be harder for them to get their truck in to get that regular maintenance done. So some key takeaways for you guys. We're kind of doing a quick overview of what you can do as a homeowner if you have a septic system tonight. Conserve water. It's great to conserve water, not hydraulically overload your system. It's okay to have those Super Bowl parties once a year or the holiday parties. Your system can handle that a little bit. But the thing is not to use use a lot of water all the time. Stagger your water usage. Again, the biggest one I keep in mind is the laundry. Don't do all your laundry in one day of the week. Be mindful of what products you use. Limit the amount of cleaners you use because you're trying to keep that microbial environment very healthy in the septic tank and in your drain field. Don't use your system as a garbage can. Okay, don't throw away stuff that's not biodegradable. That's an easy thing to do. Put them in the trash. And if you haven't yet and you have a system, look around, see what kind of vegetation you have growing around your system. If anything might impede those lateral lines over time, if you have a different tree that might do that. And keep the traffic off your field and off the tank area so that it keeps everything working the way it should. So Missouri Small Flows does have some resources for you guys too. If you go to our website, you can actually see some brochures on all the different types of systems that Nick talked about. I have just a screenshot of where those brochures look like on our website, and the website's listed there. We do also have a homeowner education folder. If you would like a copy of this, you can reach out to our office and I will happily mail you one. It's a nice folder that allows you to keep information in. So if you pump your tank regularly every 3 to 5 years, you can put that receipt in there and it kind of helps you remember, okay, what year did I pump my tank? And you can pull that out and remember. But reach out to our office. I'm always happy to send those to homeowners. And with that, if you guys have any more questions, go ahead and type them into the Q&A box. We'll answer them as they're received. And then I will put up our survey right here. I'm going to do that right here. But we'll answer some some questions for you guys too. So feel free to ask any questions you like. And we'll hang on here a few minutes and see what you guys got. But thank you for participating. And Nick, you're welcome to say any words too.
Yeah, I think that went fantastic, Tammy.
Okay. Well, if you guys don't have any questions, as always, you can reach out to our organization. I'm always happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you for participating on this Thursday evening. We appreciate your time and we hope you have a good evening. Thank you so much.